As we all know, Dabo Swinney has a big issue with the transfer portal and probably a bigger issue with the NIL. So there's a little secret-based video here that kind of breaks down the long-standing history of it. I do want to point out that this year was Dabo Swinney's first time getting deeper into the portal. I think last year he only took like 4 players. He's been vehemently against it. And let's hear how we got to where we got to.
Dabo Swinney has cemented himself as one of the elite coaches in the game of college football. Not just his era, but in the history of the sport. After taking over a lowly Clemson University team in 2008, Sweeney transformed the Tigers into a crown jewel, boasting multiple championships. But as the multi-billion-dollar industry that is college sports leaned toward drastic changes that would alter decades-old rules, allowing athletes to receive compensation from their name, image, and likeness, Dabo was ready to chuck the deuces and dip from college football completely. To be that successful and ready to call it quits all over a rule takes a lot of beef. This episode is presented by Toyota. Truck like you truck in the new 2025 Toyota Tacoma, brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. Okay, so Dabo isn't just some complete evil overlord who thinks paying players goes against the moral fabric of college athletics. I mean, that's part of it, but it's a little deeper than that. But to understand how he could reach the point of threatening to leave the sport, it's important to know how he ticks. Dabo's life resembles what some deem the American dream, pulling yourself up by your bootstraps and making it to the top. He grew up in a troubled family on the verge of homelessness in Pelham, Alabama. As a multi-sport athlete in high school, coaches encouraged Dabo to shoot for a basketball scholarship to reach college, but he always fantasized about attending the University of Alabama. So that's what he did. He dreamed of suiting up for the Crimson Tide football team and got that done as well. He barely
Hold up, little Sweeney trivia. Dabo Swinney played for Alabama for 3 seasons from 90 to 92, winning a national championship, being the University of Miami in his final year. Shout out Dabo Swinney.
touched the field in what he described as crawling onto the team, but he earned a scholarship and made the squad nonetheless.
Crawled on.
The dude was the first of his family to attend college, had to work several jobs to support himself, and nearly got kicked out of school for late tuition payments. But enduring all that and finishing with a double degree while playing football at his dream school was more than worth it for Dabo. While working on his master's degree, Dabo started as a grad assistant on the Bama football staff before eventually earning a full-time spot coaching receivers. He later lost that role under an entire coaching regime change in 2000, forcing him to pursue a career in real estate. He fancied himself a damn good leasing agent, but ultimately returned to football when Tommy Bowden, a former Bama position coach, offered him a spot on his staff at Clemson. At Clemson, Dabo worked his way from receivers coach and recruiting coordinator to top dog, taking over for Bowden after he unexpectedly resigned in the middle of the 08 season. Dabo inherited a struggling team, but finished the year strong, earning the head coach position going forward, mostly based on his recruiting chops. Critics initially thought hiring a guy who hadn't even held a coordinator role would be a grave mistake for the program, but 2 championships and several top recruiting classes later, the rest is history.
I don't know if this video is gonna get into it, but you need since 2008. So that means Sammy Watkins. That means DeAndre Hopkins. That means for a second there, when Clemson was just cranking out wide receivers seemingly every year, Dabo Swinney was a big part of that. Obviously, as a wide receivers coach, that's case in point why the wide receiver position was so good for him for a lot of those years in the early 2010s. It's interesting to look at that in retrospect.
Dabo offered a different side of coaching. He brought a gleeful type of energy, more similar to your friend calling out plays at the bar, versus Nick Saban's strict process that seemed devoid of joy. When his Tigers finished the 2015 season ranked number 1 overall, Dabo threw a pizza party for the entire town. He dressed up as Santa Claus during the holidays. He was a bit of a goofball, but he had a vision. After winning Clemson's second title in 3 years, both against his alma mater, Dabo recalled a board meeting during his first season when a staff member wished for Clemson to be like the other top schools in the country. That wasn't enough for Dabo. He pictured Clemson being the school to set the standard for others to emulate, and was very well on the path of achieving that by preaching education, discipline, and accountability to his team. Even when he inked a lengthy, lucrative deal, he expressed his desire to continue developing total student athletes. However, as Saban approached retirement at Bama, journalists questioned if Dabo's commitment to helping student athletes mature solely applied to Clemson. But Dabo wasn't so sure about his future in the sport, whether it was an opportunity at his old school or at Clemson. He seemed content with his career at Clemson, but feared the professionalization of college athletics would drive him away from CFB.
You know, I want to start because, I don't want to watch the full video because some of this we understand it, obviously, because I think his biggest fears came to truth, right? Obviously, with the Ole Miss situation, we react to him basically ethering the Ole Miss people tampering with one of their linebacker prospects. But just hearing, hey, Dabo Swinney was a guy that, as he described it, crawled onto the roster, right? And, what it meant for him to go out there and play for a national championship and what it means for kids of these days with NIL money and XYZ. He was, working doing all that stuff. That's all just the antithesis of what he was. So it really makes a lot of sense for him to be so, I think hateful might be the wrong word, but not distrustful of a system where these players get paid and, the idea of a complete student athlete is completely gone. I remember we watched a video about that with Dion where he was like, yeah, dog, we're just pretending that there are anything such as a student athlete. These kids don't go to school. They're not there for their degrees. They're not there getting double degrees. There are some people doing it. And it's completely changed from the ways that, Dabo, I'm sure, looks at it, views at it, and hopefully he wants those young people to view as it because he got so much positivity out of things going that way,
If that's the case, he thought, why not just jump to the NFL? It seemed like an unusual, jaded response when he could have easily turned to coach speak and blabbed about his love for Clemson, but it's something that's bothered Dabo for years. In 2014, while responding to a question about his thoughts regarding a group of college players forming a union to negotiate salaries for themselves, Dabo was so disgusted by the idea that he mentioned he would quit coaching if that ever became a reality. In his eyes, he thought there was already so much entitlement in the world. Fast forward a few years to him becoming the highest paid coach in the game, and media members turned to that statement, criticizing the hypocrisy of it all. But hey, Dabo knew he didn't set the market. As he sat on that fat-ass contract and talks of players receiving compensation ramped up by the day, the coach whose southern charm that once had media members swooning became an easy target, representing the good old boy network of football, hanging on to the idea of amateurism.
And that in so few words, I think that's interesting, right? He became really this laughing point of the transfer portal, a laughing point of NIL, to be like, hey man, this idea of building a system is just archaic, right? Especially the way that things are built right now. I do think that Dabo Swinney's he's right, but in the wrong vein, right? I think his hatred coming from entitlement and all this other stuff, that don't make no sense. There's billions of dollars being made, and these kids are getting brain damage. Like there has to be a way, besides the degree that they can't really use, right? That they can get something about it. The amateurism is just gone. That part of it is not of it. It seems like the way the United States is going, college might not be a thing in a second, right? So you're gonna have to get honest and serious about that conversation. But I do understand the pushback towards NIL because the way things are happening, getting tampered with players, all this other craziness, we've opened Pandora's box to the point that, fundamentally the football you watched 10 years ago, it's just gone. And I'm going to continue saying that. I don't mean that to be hyperbolic. I just mean that to be, there's no other sport in which the fundamental rules of it, recruiting, has changed so much than I can think of than college, collegiate sports. So let me know how y'all feel down below. Do y'all think Dabo Swinney has a point? Go watch Secret Base's full video of it. Obviously, that's just kind of the background of how we got today, where a man who would be so upset that he fully ethered out all of Ole Miss talking about the tampering situation. Hey, man, Dabo Swinney, you can say a lot of things about him, but he consistent, man. Y'all be great. Peace.